Welcome to The Sound, KQAL-FM's weekly behind-the-scenes look at Midwestern-made music. From writing and recording to distribution and promotion, The Sound is your source for new releases and exclusive interviews from Midwestern artists. Support for The Sound is made possible by a grant from the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund. Rolling. Tonight on The Sound, we check out some of the latest releases from Cole Diamond. Cole Diamond is a country outfit out of Minneapolis, Minnesota. The band started with a 2019 release titled Late Nights, Early Mornings, and has been cranking out cool country sounds ever since. Their music comes from somewhere between Waylon Jennings and Alan Jackson. Or maybe it's from somewhere between the 70s and 90s. Or maybe it just plumb sprung out of the Minnesota dirt where these boys are from. At any rate, today we get to hear from singer-songwriter Ryan Otte. Some folks say Ryan and Cole are one and the same. Other folks say Cole Diamond is the name of the whole outfit. I say either way, Cole Diamond is a darn clever name. I'm Bill Stoneberg. Get ready for some down-home Minnesota brewed country music with Cole Diamond tonight on The Sound.
A lot of money keeping up this appearance. Whose attention now you're trying to buy? Go and get a real job, then you'll be just fine. Well, I'll sit here until the lights come on again. And all these empty bottles are some of my closest friends. And if you see my name on the wall in a picture frame, then you know you made it to the drinkers Hall of Fame. Well, I got here by practicing every day. Show up early and stay till close more often than I'd care to say. No need to be embarrassed for me because I have no shame. How do you think I made it to the Drinkers Hall of Fame?
That was Drinkers Hall of Fame, and that is the latest release by Cole Diamond out of Minneapolis. Now, before we get started, I kind of want to sort out this name business. According to your bio on your website, Cole Diamond is either you or you and your band, depending on who you talk to. And I also noticed some of the credits on the tunes. It says Cole Diamond as vocals and guitar. So do you go by Cole or Ryan, or what do we do here? What do I call you?
I know, it has become kind of a confusing situation now. I mean, technically my name is Ryan.
Right.
And when I was coming up with this band idea, I just thought, Ryan Otte was kind of a boring name to just have your music under. Mm-hmm. And it kind of all came about, it was actually a name in an email at my day job. There was an email that a bunch of people were CC'd in and BCC'd and whatever. And there was one name that kind of stuck out, Cole Diamond. And I thought, wow, that's a name. And so I just kind of wrote it down in my little, notes that I keep. And
oh, wow.
I got a big game in.
So that was
yeah, it does kind of vary though. I mean, right. I mean, sometimes I just kind of use it as it's the Cole Diamond band, or it's just Cole Diamond as the person. So it is a little confusing.
I kind of like the confusion though. It gives it a little bit of that mystery, I don't know.
Keeps people on their toes.
Right. For sure. So that was someone's real name, huh?
Yeah. And I think, there's some other, if you Google Cole Diamond, there's actually another singer, Cole Diamond. But they have, what do you call it? Like the slash that goes through the O. There's like some type of accents or whatever on a couple of the letters. And so we do kind of get mixed up sometimes where he messaged me because I guess some of my songs that I'd uploaded were somehow uploaded under his name on YouTube. It somehow got goofed up. So we are now, like it or not, kind of connected. So maybe we'll have to. Yeah,
maybe you guys could play together or something.
Yeah, I don't know if he'd be so thrilled. It doesn't seem like he's too much of a country fan. It's more like kind of like really electronic kind of R&B. Okay. So it might be a little bit of a stretch, but we can make it work.
Either way, Cole Diamond is clever as heck. I think that's
well,
really
right.
cool.
It kind of works on a few levels.
Yeah, totally. So you guys have been releasing Cole Diamond stuff since around 2019. So it's been a few years, and you got quite a few releases out. But kind of odd years, because we had the pandemic and everything.
Right.
Can you kind of take us through that journey, from the start of this project to now and through the pandemic?
Yeah. Well, a lot of the guys in the band I've been playing with, prior to all this and other projects. Mm-hmm. But mainly they were like cover bands. We had a cover band for a while called Bourbon County, which was just doing a lot of the, Waylon and Willie and Merle, just kind of all the classic stuff. And,
right.
We were doing that for a while, and it was kind of around the 2019-ish when I thought, I'm like, well, maybe I'll try writing a few of my own songs and, see how that works and get out from behind the drums and maybe try playing guitar. So I grabbed a couple of those guys and, we kind of started up this Cole Diamond thing. And then, unfortunately, it was kind of like right when we released that first EP, Late Nights, Early Mornings, and, started playing some shows and kind of get a little momentum, and then everything kind of shut down there for 2 years. So,
right, yeah.
Got back on the horse after and kind of getting there again at this point.
Yeah. It looks like you got some good shows coming up, some action going on. I want to get back into the tunes. Let's go ahead and we'll play Late Nights, Early Mornings for folks, and
cool.
We'll come back and talk some more. I'm here talking to Ryan Otte, otherwise known as Cole Diamond, and this is a track from their 2019 release, Late Nights, Early Mornings, and you're listening to it on The Sound right here on 89.5 KQAL.
Well, I've been up on the stage for most of my life, playing to empty chairs and some guy's wife. I just keep saying tonight might be the night, and I hope I find it out before I die. Late nights and early mornings got me down, ain't got me feeling nothing for this town, when you just can't make enough to settle down. Late nights and early mornings got me down. Says I'd love to see finish a song or two. Until then, just keep doing what you do. Late nights and early mornings got me down. Ain't got me feeling nothing for this town. When you just can't make enough to settle down. Late nights and early mornings got me down. Well, I'm singing songs for a crowd that doesn't care. You can make it here, you don't have to go nowhere. Well, one more set and I'll be heading home. I'm out here, so let's throw this dog a bone. Late nights and early mornings got me down. They ain't got me feeling nothing for this town. When you just can't make enough to settle down. Late nights and early mornings got me down. Late nights and early mornings got me down.
That was Late Nights, Early Mornings, and that is one of the earlier releases from Cole Diamond from 2019. And I have Mr. Cole Diamond on the phone with me tonight, otherwise known as Ryan Otte. Ryan, so we were talking a little bit about, how you just got started in 2019 and then the pandemic hit and everything. It sounds like you guys put it together real quick, though, because you said you just kind of got out from behind the drum set in 2019 and started writing. And by the end of 2019, you guys had a release. So, yeah, it sounds like it came together real quick. You'd been working with these guys for a while then, I take it?
Yeah, we were all pretty familiar. And, I mean, I have to definitely pay some gratitude to the members of the band, Dan Lowinger and Josh Braun, Sean Hoffman, Andrew Bartleson. I mean, they're all A-plus players. I mean, they take my kind of, mediocre ideas and turn them into, a full picture. So,
right. It's always great to have good players, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So you mentioned a little bit about playing drums and then switching to guitar. How did you get your start in music in general? How was that journey for you? It sounds like you started on drums, or how'd you start?
Yeah, well, actually, I wanted to. It was, I think, in 6th grade when you can sign up for like a band instrument.
Right.
You want to be in band, you can sign up for drums or trombone or whatever. And so I just had this idea in my head that like, oh, drums, like a whole track kit, but in reality, it's just one drum.
Right. And hopefully it's a drum and not a triangle, right?
Yeah, exactly. That was kind of a letdown. And also it was, you had to like have taken piano or know how to read music, which I guess is still kind of a thing. So anyway, that didn't work out for me. And then my parents thought that maybe, a better idea would be like, well, let's just get him a guitar. That's easier than a full drum set.
Uh-huh.
And so I kind of started out playing guitar in like 7th grade and started a little high school band with some friends and did that all through high school. And so kind of caught the bug early. I was always playing drums, though. I mean, whenever someone had a drum kit, I'd always, call drums, whenever we're kind of doing our little round robin jams,
Uh-huh.
that we used to do. And then eventually I was probably in 20, maybe 21. And I finally got my own drum kit and then started playing drums in bands and
Nice.
then kind of just played drums from that point on up until, recently. I mean, I've always been playing guitar, but mainly playing drums for most of that time.
Well, that's kind of cool. You've been like a multi-instrumentalist like the whole way through, it sounds like,
Yeah. I mean, varying degrees on all of them. I'll play bass and whatnot, but definitely not getting many of those calls to become a bass player for someone's band.
Well, I think you're doing quite well on your own now. So, have you always been into country music, or how did that journey happen? What were you into when you first started?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely been a full 180, I would say. I mean, I grew up I guess in high school it would have been the 90s,
Right.
and so prime time for kind of what we're mining now, like the mid '90s, the Alan Jackson and all that.
Right.
But at the time, I just did not have the time of day for country music. I mean, I was into, all the SST records bands and
Right.
hardcore stuff and punk and, anything weird, really. Anything that just was like difficult to listen to. I was like, that must be something. That must be art.
Like Fire Hose to Fugazi kind of thing?
Oh, exactly. Yeah. We used to do a bunch of Fugazi songs. I can't even imagine how horrible they were in my high school band to people who just wanted to hear Brown Eyed Girl,
Right.
and we're playing Waiting Room, and they're just like, what is going on? Who hired this high school band? But yeah, so I was as far away from country as you could be. I mean, I liked Creedence and Neil Young and things like that. I mean, the obvious, like Johnny Cash and Waylon Jennings, but I guess I kind of separated that from country. I just assumed country was, Brooks and Dunn, Alan Jackson,
right.
Garth Brooks, things like that. And it wasn't really until like late, probably again, I was in my 20s and I kind of got into records. And I started buying albums and got into like Buck Owens and, kind of some more of the classic stuff and, started realizing that, country is all right. And then it slowly, I'm like, okay, well, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, but 90s was kind of always that, like, we can't cross that line. And now, I mean, stuff from the 90s, it sounds like it might as well be the Grand Old Opry. It's
right.
like compared to what's going on now.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's true, isn't it? And I think when you are a musician and then you start digging into things a little more, you get a greater appreciation for other genres and things,
Yeah.
It seems. And your songs have a lot of, I can hear that 90s thing in it too, but you have a lot of classic like themes, of like being on the road or, playing to empty clubs night after night and drinking. I've noticed as a theme in there as well. What inspires you to write? Are you drawing from like life experiences or, just things that kind of pique your interest? How does that work for you?
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's something that I'm still trying to figure out myself too. I mean, it is, I'm always envious of those people that, they just sit down like a job, like I'm going to sit down and just work on songs. I got my notebook and it's just very scattershot for me. Like it might be a phrase that I hear incorrectly or, something that just kind of comes up in conversation and I kind of just make a mental note like, that might be kind of a cool song idea and just start from there. Or maybe it's like you come up with a verse or something like that,
right?
Or a chorus, and just kind of start building around that. But there are, you try not to be too cliche, but I guess it was something when I first started to try and write songs, I'd always be worried about like not trying to reference, the classics like whiskey and drinking and long nights and, and then I'm like, well, there's no more themes, I mean, it's like those common themes, I mean, they're still being used in songs that are being released today,
right.
Under the neon light, there's always some mention of a neon light or a neon sign or, something. And, I mean, I think it's just the imagery of that life.
Yeah.
If you're not necessarily living it, I mean, you've at least seen it or experienced it in some way.
Right. It's common because it's relatable in some way, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, totally. I heard you mention a little bit about, like chords and lyrics. What usually comes first to you? Is it just like the words itself or a melody or strumming the guitar? What is it?
Yeah, a lot of times it does just kind of come from sitting around strumming the guitar and you kind of start humming something and you come up with a little melody and try to piece some words into it. I've recently been just trying to be better about like journaling or just writing words down. If something comes into my head, just write all the words down and then go back to it later and maybe try to piece it into a melody or something like that.
Right.
It's harder, I think, with country because it's so story driven. I think I heard I forget who it was, but someone was talking about there's rock lyrics and then there's country lyrics, you know, and like rock lyrics can kind of just be very, you know, obtuse and just kind of about something or maybe nothing, you know, just a word salad.
Right.
But country lyrics really have to be about something or
right.
have some type of end result, you know. So that's kind of a difficult piece too.
Yeah.
Having it mean something.
Yeah. It's always interesting to find out different artists' process, you know, like what they start with and what's that nugget of inspiration,
right.
You know. That's cool. Let's get back into some tunes. This next one is actually one of my favorites of yours so far. And I think because for me, it really encompasses that sound that we're talking about, you know, from, you know, I hear a lot of like the Waylon 70s to 80s type stuff, you know. The guitars got a little phaser and stuff like that, you know. And I'm sure a lot of that's coming from the 90s as well, but I want to get into that a little bit with you, but first I want to play the tune so people can hear it. We're going to play, this is People with Real Jobs. This is a tune by Cole Diamond, and I have Cole or Ryan on the phone with me tonight, and we'll be back to talk to him a little more. But this is People with Real Jobs, and you're listening to it on The Sound right here on 89.5 KQAL.
The bus by the graveyard, baby, trying to make it to my 9 to 5. I didn't grow up rich, I wasn't born with money. Now I'm working for the rest of my life. Should I laugh or should I cry? I'm probably just gonna go get high. Well, go and get a real job, then you'll be just fine. You got a real nice house like a magazine. Everything is something I can't buy. You got a yard sign says everyone is welcome, but you better not go inside. It's a whole lot of money keeping up this appearance. Whose attention are you trying to buy? Go and get a real job, then you'll be just fine. People with real jobs telling me about their Bitcoin fortunes and their Reddit feeds, and I can't pretend that I really care. I can't take another day of this, I swear. Life ain't nothing but a whole lot of struggle mixed in with a couple good times. Go and get a real job, then you'll be just fine. Then you'll be just fine. Working 40 hours never made me feel like I'm winning at the game of life. You just do what you do and you just keep doing it until the day you die. Gonna sit on back, put my feet up, watch the world pass me by, and go and get a real job, then you'll be just fine. Jobs are telling me about their Bitcoin fortunes and their credit fees, and I can't pretend that I really care. I can't take another day of this, I swear. Well, life ain't nothing but a whole lot of struggle mixed in with a couple good times.
That was People with Real Jobs, and that's a tune by Cole Diamond out of Minneapolis. And I have Mr. Cole Diamond, or Ryan, on the phone with me tonight. Ryan, so we were talking a little bit about, influences, your writing process, stuff like that. And that last tune, People with Real Jobs, like I said, it's one of my favorites so far, and I think because it just really reminds me of like basically old Waylon stuff from the 80s to into the 70s probably. It's funny. I got to tell you, this morning I was listening to it and something was wrong with my Bluetooth. So things were kind of distorted and almost like it was coming out of a blown out speaker. And I instantly had a flashback to when I was a little kid riding in my grandpa's pickup truck. I was like, oh my God, this sounds just like that with the little distortion over the whole thing.
Speaker in the dash.
Yeah, exactly. One of those old Chevy trucks with the metal dash and yeah. So that really took me back. I really dig that.
That was awesome.
But is that, like we were talking about the influences and stuff, is that a conscious kind of decision to kind of mine that vein there, or do you have specific influences in the genre that you kind of take in and stuff?
Yeah, I mean, with that song in particular, I love that phaser effect. I mean, if it were up to me, I'd just put it on everything, So luckily the other guys in the band are a little bit more tasteful, But I mean, I think I was reading something about, Waylon Jennings' guitar tone, and essentially he had that phaser on. That was just his tone.
Right.
He had a phaser, phase 90, turned all the way down, and just on all the time. So he's kind of had that warbly kind of guitar going on, and I just love that sound. I don't know if he was the one who kind of started using it, but I mean, it didn't seem like there were a lot of people using a phaser on their guitar prior to that, but I just love that tone. And with that song in particular, with that riff and everything, I was just like, oh yeah, this needs phaser for sure.
Cool. Yeah, I love that sound too. That People with Real Jobs and that late night, early mornings, that reminds me of that kind of old school stuff too. Super cool. And you have a lot of cool sounds like that all across the board on your tunes. And I'm kind of wondering, we've talked about some of the older country stuff up to 90s country stuff. Do you have any modern stuff you've been checking out? Or, it doesn't have to be a direct influence, but, kind of what's in your player right now? What have you been into,
Oh, man. Yeah. I mean, it seems like there's a lot of cool new underground country coming out. I mean, I guess depending on what your definition of underground is, but bands like Charlie Crockett or I'm totally blanking now, Joshua Headley. He's got a new album, I mean, which is just amazing, and he's kind of mining from that same era too. I mean, it's very 90s Joe Diffie kind of heavy sounds on that album, which is super cool. And Margot Price and Nikki Lane, Vincent Neil Emerson, there's a lot of cool Joshua Ray Walker, a lot of 3-name people.
Right. Yep.
You always have to have 3 names. That's one
right.
of the rules. But and I think that was kind of I mean, I know it's been always happening. I mean, there's always kind of the mainstream, and then there's a little bit underneath the mainstream. But kind of when I started the idea of making my own music was, probably a result of bands like, Sturgill Simpson or Margot Price or some of these newer groups that I'm like, oh, there's people out there now doing this, and maybe I was just oblivious to it prior to that. But now that I've been kind of paying more attention, there's a lot of stuff. Jesse Daniels is another one. Okay. I think he's going to be coming to town with American Aquarium. But just lots of really cool country music that isn't Florida Georgia Line, or something like that. With no offense, whatever. If that's your flavor,
your bag,
that's fine.
Sure.
But there's lots of other choices out there.
Right. Well, I think you're right though that it seems like it's ramped up in the last few years, 5 or 10 maybe, but maybe it's kind of like in the 90s where there was all of a sudden the alternative genre, which I tend to interpret that as like, well, that was college music, college radio in the 80s, and then they just rebranded it to sell it to us. But it seems like, you know, there's like a resurgence in that classic sound coming from these, you know, independent artists and things like that, you know. So yeah. I think you're here at the exact right time, Cole.
Yeah, so, perfect for once.
Yeah, for sure. Right. Yeah, for sure. I'm speaking to Cole Diamond, or otherwise known as Ryan Otte. He's from Minneapolis, and we're going to play a few more tunes and talk to him some more. This next one is called Friday Night Demons. And again, that's from Cole Diamond out of Minneapolis, and you're listening to it on the Sound on 89.5 KQAL.
Monday night, I'm living like the end's in sight. Well, it's 2:45, very might be. I'ma make it till the morning light. Can I get a ride with you if you're leaving anytime soon? I ain't asking for much, I haven't eaten since lunch. Maybe we could hit the drive-thru. Well, no, two wrongs don't always make a right. And I don't want this to be another fight. Until then, let it begin. Inside, writing all the checks that I know ain't no good, and I'ma pay them when the money's right. Well, can I put it on my tab? 'Cause I lost my wallet again. I got my keys in my phone, but could you throw me a bone? Go ahead and fill it up again. I know two wrongs don't always make a right, but I don't want this to be another fight. Oh, until then, let it begin.
That was Friday Night Demons. That is a release from Cole Diamond, and they're out of Minneapolis. I have Ryan Otte on the phone with me tonight, and otherwise known as Cole Diamond, depending on who you talk to. So, Ryan, we've talked about influences, stuff like that, and I also noticed that most of your stuff is self-produced, usually engineered by Zach Hollander, and looks like you record a lot at Pearl Studios. How did you connect with those guys, with Zach and Pearl Studios? How did that go down?
Yeah, he's a super great guy. I was actually recording with Martin Devaney, another singer-songwriter here in Minneapolis, buddy of mine. And I was playing drums on an album of his, and he was recording with Zach at Pearl. And whenever we were going in to record, he'd always have like Buck Owens or something playing. Nice. And so I just kind of got this idea. I'm like, oh, he gets it. And then when I was looking for a place to go record, I just liked the experience there. And I mean, he's a real wizard with Pro Tools, he's over there just piecing things together. And, like by the time you come back in to listen to a few takes, like he's already taken the best pieces of your 3 takes and kind of put it together in one. And he's just really easy to work with. So
Nice.
that's, kind of where I was coming from with that. And, I'm a real creature of habit. So like if something works and is real easy, I'm like, let's stick with it.
Yeah.
Which could be good or bad. I don't know.
Right. Well, if it's not broke, don't fix it, right?
Right, exactly.
Have you always had like an interest in music production or producing then? Or is it just out of necessity that you produce it yourself, or out of like, these are my babies, no one else touches it? Like what's the decision there?
Yeah, I mean, I would love to. It'd be awesome to have, someone like an actual producer who comes in and, and it's kind of one of those things where I guess I don't really even know what a producer does. I've never been in the luxury of having one.
Right.
But it's been mainly out of necessity as far as just producing goes. I mean, I think it would be great. It's always good to get just like a impartial kind of third party in there to just give you ideas, or let's try this, or maybe try using this effect instead of that effect, or, someone who's not so close to it to come in and give you some other input. So,
right.
Knock on wood, maybe if there's any big time producers out there, I'm ready to be produced.
Yeah, give Cole a call. It's nice to have that outside pair of ears, Yeah,
for sure.
It is, for sure. When you guys do record, do you record it live, or do you track it, instrument by instrument, or how does that? Is it the same band that you take live?
Yeah, for the most part, it is. I think on a couple songs, we'll have someone come in, maybe do keys or fiddle or something like that we don't normally have in the live configuration.
Right.
But for the most part, it's the same crew. And, we try to record as live as possible. I mean, it is kind of one of those things where I guess it's like, that dream, right? Like you see that Beatles documentary or whatever, and like they're all just in a room working it out. And it's like, you get that, but then it's like, you also realize that, but they've got millions of dollars to spend on this album. So sometimes you don't have the luxury of just like, we're going to just sit in this room and wait until we get inspired, or, like the Rolling Stones, like renting a whole castle or wherever to record an album. I mean, would all be great, but, sometimes you just got to work with those constraints, those limitations of whether it's time, money, whatever. And it seems like just with modern production, like if you can lay down a pretty solid basic track and then, keep parts that work. And if there's a guitar, lick that didn't quite land, you can go back in and do overdubs here and there.
Right.
But, the days of like, I guess you still can. I mean, but like, it's a lot harder. You just have to have you got to be so together as a band to just go into a studio, set up mics and be like, boom, roll tape, nail it, next. You got to be like Wrecking Crew level, musicians. And,
And
not saying that we're not, but, we might have a couple miles to go before we get there.
Before you get to Wrecking Crew status, yeah. And
you
you have to have the room for it too,
right.
Both like physically and sonically,
Yeah.
So that's, nothing that old phrase, time is money. It really hits home when you walk into a studio,
Oh, for sure. Yeah. You kind of just keep looking at that clock. I mean, you really start like good enough seems to kind of come up a lot. We're like, I think that's good enough. You're like, we can work with that. Let's go. Next song.
Right. Well, I was talking to someone about that the other day. Even when in what I do here on the radio, when I first started out, in television, but still I was editing on tape back then. And I would get reels of tape in from voiceover people, stuff like that. But it made you just make a decision and you live with it. There's no like, I'm going to sit with this for 3 hours and then land in the same spot I was 3 hours ago. It's like, nope, you make the decision, you move on. So, I think in a way that can be beneficial to the process, kind of get what
I
you
kind of
get.
like that. I mean, I know if I'm left to my own devices, I try to do like a little bit of home recording, like mainly for demos and stuff like that. I'm very novice at it. But I know that if I were to like invest in all the microphones and preamps and get a whole setup, I would never get anything done, because I would just sit there and redo, well, this kick drum didn't really sound, maybe if I tried this, and then like you just mess with something too much and then you just kind of ruin it all.
Yeah.
I think, just kind of going with that gut, the first couple takes, try to get it as good as you can and, move on. It's like you can only represent who you are so well. It's like if you gussy it up too much, then it's like, well, this isn't even a real representation of what happened.
Right. Yeah. Go with the gut. I like that for sure. Speaking about the band and, instrumentation, stuff like that, is this pretty much the same band you started with, or has that evolved as well? Or
we started out with a different drummer, but for the most part, it's been the same crew. Every once in a while, they're all kind of busy in other bands as well, and we might have subs here and there, but it's nice. I mean, for the most part, I like to try and stick with the same crew. I know there's other band leaders that just kind of farm out, like we'll get a band depending on what the gig is, and I'm just not that comfortable as a band leader yet to be able to just on the fly be kind of instructing people on how to play the songs, and I like that they kind of just know where we're going, and I can just kind of focus on doing my piece.
Yeah. Well, and you guys have a real cohesive sound then too,
Yeah.
From tune to tune, which I want to ask you about that. Also about singles versus albums, things like that. But first, let's play another track for folks. Sure. I'm here talking to Cole Diamond, otherwise known as Ryan Otte. But this next tune is called Getting Old. It's from Cole Diamond out of Minneapolis, and you're listening to it on The Sound right here on 89.5 KQAL.
Well, I've scratched up every mirror, trying to get to the other side. I've smoked myself crazy out of goddamn mind, and I'd like to say I'm trying, but I gave up a long time ago, and I wonder what it is. Maybe I'm just getting old, on the wrong side of 40, and life's still a mystery. Got a job and a family to help keep my sanity. Things that I held so close don't mean that much to me anymore, and I wonder what it is. Maybe I'm just getting old. Under those neon lights, we don't hit it like we used to. Getting drunk, staying out all night, and I think I'm better off now, but I still tie one on from time to time. Yes, I wonder what it is. Maybe I
That was Getting Old. That's a recent release by Cole Diamond. They're out of Minneapolis, and I have Ryan Otte on the phone with me tonight, sometimes otherwise known as Cole Diamond. Ryan Cole.
Either work.
Yeah, so, we were kind of talking about the way you have the same band all the time, or like to stick to the same players. And the cohesive nature is what I kind of heard in there, because I listen to your tunes, and across the last few years, it sounds like a band, it sounds like the same group of people, so I really enjoy that. And most of your releases, though, are singles, a couple of them have like 3 or 4 tunes. But how do you feel about full albums? Are there plans for a full album in the future, or do you think singles are the way to go now? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's just been kind of out of necessity. Again, it always kind of comes back to money. It seems like everything with music always comes down to, well, how much money do we got?
Right,
It's
right.
like, okay, well, this is what we can do. I think with this last batch of tunes, I was looking at maybe trying to put them out on vinyl, but again, it just seems like everything's so pushed out because of, the big vinyl resurgence, or maybe not even a resurgence. It seems like it's here to stay, but, the times to just get something pressed, it's like 9 months, 10 months out into the future. So
Oh, wow.
I was kind of like, well, how about we just release these as like a single once a month, and it seems to maybe stretch it out a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes maybe with an album, if you don't have like the money behind it for like promotion, or maybe you're not really planning on like touring behind it or whatever, you kind of put out an album, and then it's like the next day it's just kind of, well, that was that,
Right.
Everyone who wanted to hear about it heard it, and everyone who wanted to write about it wrote something about it, and then it just is kind of sitting there.
Yeah.
So I thought maybe with releasing singles, it just kind of gives you something to talk about a little more often, especially in a band at our stage where we're still trying to get people interested in what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So the more we can kind of be out in front of people on social media or live in person, is probably for the best.
Yeah. I think so too. Especially in this day and age, you got to keep people's interest, And,
well, yeah, it's hard. It's a lot to compete with. I mean, just not music. I mean, just, everything. But, I mean, it would be great. I would love to, put out an album at some point. And, I'm sure with this next batch of tunes, when we go back to record, and, whenever that happens to be, I'd love to put them out on vinyl, or, maybe even take this collection of singles and put them all together on a record or something.
Right.
But I do kind of like the idea of singles too, and maybe that's something that's going to be more relevant, as kind of the music industry continues to shift. And but that kind of seemed to be like that's how it used to be. Like bands would just put out singles,
right?
And then like if that single worked, then it's like, okay, let's put out that album, or whatever. Let's wait to release the album until this single gets popular. So
right. Yeah, I like it, because it keeps me interested. I find an artist I like, like I heard, I think it was People with Real Jobs is the recordings I heard first,
Okay.
And then, all of a sudden new stuff's coming out, and I'm like, oh, cool, and it's keeping my interest. So that's, there's something to be said, I think, for releasing singles periodically instead of a full length,
Yeah.
What about physical? Do you have physical releases of any of this stuff so far, or?
No, it's pretty much all just been online. I did make some like download cards for the Late Night Early Mornings EP that we released. But like at shows, I don't really notice people CDs, for instance. I just don't even personally. I don't even have a way to play a CD anymore.
Yeah.
Like none of my computers can play CD. I guess like my PlayStation, I could put a CD in my PlayStation.
Right.
But that's honestly about it. And I've got plenty of boxes of CDs from bands that I used to play in just in my garage that have just kind of lived there forever. So I didn't really want to add to that collection of just back catalog, personal band music. But I think more so like with merch and stuff, I've just been kind of taking whatever money, we would have spent on maybe making CDs or making an album, and then just, making t-shirts or making hats, stickers,
Right.
buttons, things like that. I've noticed like at our shows, again, kind of like the level we're at, I think people are more apt to like, oh, this is a cool hat or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and pick that up opposed to maybe a CD that they may or may not even be able to play, or an album that they have to carry around the bar all night, or
Right.
whatever the case is.
Yeah, I think so too. It's hard to, yeah, a lot of us don't even have a player anymore for a CD and stuff like that, So, but speaking of merch, I noticed also on your Bandcamp, there's a T-shirt that has like a DeKalb seed corn style logo
Yeah.
that says Cole Diamond, which I
Yep.
absolutely love. I'm gonna order one of those. But did you grow up like in a rural area or something, or is that just kind of a nod to that, or?
Yeah, no, I did kind of both. I mean, I did grow up in a rural area. I grew up in Hutchinson,
Okay.
Minnesota, which is about an hour and a half west of the metro here. It's kind of like the big town for all the smaller farm towns. Like they had the mall and the movie theater and stuff like that.
Okay, sure.
But there was lots of, all the like old farmer clothes was like stuff that we'd always be getting at the thrift store, like all the DeKalb and International and,
Right.
John Deere stuff. I mean, it was all those kind of like satiny kind of jackets, those like windbreaker jackets and stuff. So it just kind of, I had a DeKalb hat for like a long time, and I was like, oh, that'd be kind of cool to just kind of copy that logo and make it a Cole Diamond logo. So some people don't understand. They're like, what is that? That
What is that
corn with the
flying
wings?
corn
Like,
cob?
what is
Yeah.
what does that flying corn cob mean? I'm like, oh, it's DeKalb. It's like a farm thing.
Right. That's great. I
Like,
love
oh, okay.
And I think now might be a good time to mention to folks, if you go to Bandcamp, find Cole Diamond on Bandcamp, and you can find some merch there. And then you have a website, colediamondmusic.com. Is there merch on your website as well?
No, but there's links to the Bandcamp page. And
Okay.
you can get stuff through there.
Okay, cool. What's up next for Cole Diamond? You mentioned that you might have a batch of tunes to record. Do you have shows, a tour coming up, anything like that?
Yeah, we've kind of got our continual line of shows coming up for August. Yeah, we've got a couple. We're playing at Mortimer's on August 19th with a bunch of cool bands. Michael Gay, Goat Roper, a guy from Missouri. I can't remember his name right now. Travis Fuchs.
Okay.
That should be a fun gig. We've got a little happy hour show at the White Squirrel on August 9th. Doing another gig on August 10th at the Terminal Bar. So, we're always
Cool.
kind of keeping busy around town. I mean,
Nice.
it would be nice to, we're definitely not the youngest band in town. So, sometimes our ambitions to like really travel and do that type of life is maybe not so much these days, but
Right.
it would be fun. I mean, I'd love to maybe schedule some long weekends and, get out of town a little bit more and maybe do some of that. But, if anything like that, it'd probably be, next spring, summer at this point,
Right.
I would imagine.
Okay.
We don't want to do too much touring in the winter.
In the winter,
That's
yeah.
usually when we hunker down and
Right.
start working on things.
Right. Well, I hear you when it comes to hitting the road in an older age. It's not as enticing as it was at 20.
Yeah, right. Everyone cramming into a 16-passenger van and sleeping at the sound person's house after the gig and
Right.
whatnot. It doesn't sound too appealing, at this point in life.
Right. Well, I don't know. I'm gonna throw around your name and some tunes to people around here. Maybe we can get you on one of those long weekends you're talking about and come down to Winona or
Heck
something.
yeah. That'd be great.
That'd be really cool to see. So as far as like finding your tunes online, we've mentioned Bandcamp already. Are you on the streaming services and stuff like that too?
Yep. Yeah. All the streaming services, Spotify, Apple Music, tons of other ones that I have never even heard of before.
Right.
You know, Deezer, I don't even know what that is.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's wherever you stream music, it's out there.
Right. So, and then I'm assuming like the website coaldiamondmusic.com is probably the best place to go for shows and stuff. Do you have a Facebook page as well, or?
Yeah. Facebook, I think, is Coal Diamond Music, as well as my Instagram, and there's links to all that off of the website as well. And
okay,
I try to keep the dates pretty up to date on the website, and you know, everything that's happening in the Coal Diamond universe should be up on there.
Nice, very nice. Well, yeah. So I encourage everyone, go out to coaldiamondmusic.com. That's where you'll find links to everything. Bandcamp for merch, Facebook and Instagram, stuff like that. So, Cole, Ryan, Ryan, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Really appreciate it. Love the tunes, absolutely love it.
Thank you.
I was pretty excited when you started releasing more stuff this spring. I was like, ooh, how are we going to get him on this show? You know, because I like to have at least 5 or 6 tunes to play. So, super
that's
cool.
Great. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Really appreciate you being on the show. So we're going to go out with one last tune. This is a recent one as well. We've been talking to Coal Diamond tonight, otherwise known as Ryan Otte. This last one is Golden Rule, and you're listening to it on The Sound on 89.5 KQAL.
Woke up this morning and wondered why you're laying next to some other guy, and I thought I had you figured out, but I was a fool. Whatever happened to that golden rule? Should've spent more time at home, less at the bar. Should've said I'm sorry when I wrecked your car. And after all the things that I had put you through, I should have tried that golden rule. Well, I have had my share of heartache, but nothing compares to you. And it's been on my mind each day, it's true. If I ask myself to walk in your shoes, and I should have tried that golden rule. Some time apart, and I think you would agree that we're no angels and never claim to be. And I think we're better off apart, living as two. And we should have tried that golden rule. Well, I have had my share of heartaches, but nothing compares to you. It's been on my mind each day, it's true. And if I ask myself, walk in your shoes, and I should have tried that golden rule. Yes, I should have tried that golden rule.
Thanks again to Coal Diamond for joining us tonight on The Sound. For more information on the band and their music, go to coaldiamondmusic.com. For more deep dives into local and regional albums, tune into The Sound every Wednesday night at 6 right here on 89.5 KQAL. Or listen to The Sound on your favorite streaming services. Find links at kqal.org. I'm Bill Stoneberg, and we've just heard from Coal Diamond tonight on The Sound. Thanks for listening to The Sound. The Sound is produced by KQAL FM on the campus of Winona State University. Visit us online at kqal.org. Theme music for the sound provided by Mike Terrell of Fires of Denmark.